Hello and welcome to the Connecting to Wellness Health Score Workshop. I'm Dr. Schuler. Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own, you were bought at a price. Therefore honor God with your body. So everything that we're going to talk about today on this Health Score Workshop is at our website, www.connectingtowellness.com. So we're just going to get into it. One of the reasons we came up with the Connecting to Wellness website and training system is the Ray Vanderlaan Faith Lessons from the Promised Land. Ray Vanderlaan is a historian that goes around to historic parts of the Bible and tells you the symbolism and gives you a life lesson. And so one of the lessons was talking about how God really wanted the Israelites to influence the world. And so, you really should shape your culture, and the culture shouldn't shape you. And so, with your health and you being the temple, you want to be an example to those around you and help those around you be able to influence the world. And it's hard to do that when you have not feeling well, or you have a lot of interference to your body, or you can't go do mission trips or go do acts of kindness. So one of the cool things he talked about was God wants you to be a living stone and a standing stone. But back then, when someone did something great, they would actually put up these standing stones, and then so people would ask what the standing stones were for, and they would say, well, let me tell you how great my God was. We crossed over the Jordan River, and God parted the seas, and we were able to cross and conquer the Promised Land. So one of the nice things about the Connecting to Wellness is people are going to see a difference in you, and you're going to be able to influence the world around you. So now, how did we come up with the wellness scores? Like, how did we get up with the score sheets, and how did we come up with the checklist? I started practicing in 1994 at the age of 25, and then years and years later in 2009, I combined a practice with another friend of mine who's a chiropractor. And so one of the nice things about chiropractic is, you can't do any drugs or any surgery. I like not to do that. And so, you have to get people well without these things. And so I believe that's true wellness, because I don't believe absolutely that people are truly well if they're taking medications. We'll talk about that later. But so what we wanted to do as we started our practice was make sure that we didn't contradict each other. So what we did is we sat down for a couple of days and went through like the techniques that I did and the tests that I did, and then what I thought I saw in people that were well. And then we made sure that we weren't contradicting, but it was just interesting because we saw very similar tests, very similar treatments, and and the same attributes. So coming up with all that for several days, then we found out there was like 7 general areas of wellness that both of us like to analyze, these regions of wellness and how to treat them. And so then that's how we came up with Connecting to Wellness program. So it takes the 7 general areas of wellness and the practices with simple tests to score wellness, evaluate it, and continually work on them. So now with this health score workshop, you get a packet which you download from our website, connectingtowellness.com, and then you're going to have a master score sheet that you're going to fill out by using these individual score sheets. And so there's 7 categories of wellness attributes that we're going to come up with a score for each one. And then it's not necessary to get a score in each, like all the scores in each category, but you at least want to get one in each category. But the more scores you get, then the more valid your health score is. And the nice thing about this is you can actually add other like tests, like you've gotten from your MD or from your physical therapist, personal trainer, or from your doctor, that you can actually add on there, and then you can figure out which category it is in and then add it to your score. So we're going to go through each of these wellness categories and through each of these tests to help you figure out how to come up with your health score. So one of the nice things about the Connecting to Wellness is that we're going to come up with a way for you to come up with a habit, so you don't have to keep doing this over and over again and always have to be training. But I mean you don't have to keep being so strict on yourself and having to do the checklist and the scores, but eventually it should just become habit, and then you can just kind of use it to make sure that you're staying on track. But in the beginning, you're going to do a little bit more work. But so one of the things that is hard in the beginning is just to keep motivated. So that's what we're going to go through. Why, you need to come up with some whys. It's good to write down some whys and why you're going to do this, so you can stay motivated during this. So here's Barbara. She's a wife, grandmother, a clown, a singer. She ran the nursery at church. She was the treasurer at church. She was the office manager at my office. She had COPD and emphysema. She had smoked her whole life, and she just knew she made some bad decisions, and when she was 65, she had a chemical stress test, which actually plummeted her blood pressure. They tried to get back up, and then they couldn't, and then she ended up dying. She was a big advocate of the wellness program. She was feeling a lot better when she was getting adjustments, starting to exercise, and we were coming up with some of these scores during that time. And then, so she is one of the reasons why we do the connectingtowellness.com, because I've seen so many people. I've been frustrated so much in my life. So many people that did so much to help people and who helped the church and made a difference in the world, but their life was cut short, which stopped their witness and stopped them from influencing the world. So this is one of the reasons why we started Connecting to Wellness. Do you believe your health care attitudes affect your health choices, which affect your health? Now these guys here made some healthcare choices to be strong and big, and therefore, that's the way they became. I'm not saying everyone needs to be this big, but your health care does affect your health. Your health attitude does affect your health choices, which affect your health. These people wanted to lose weight, and they did, and they ended up being able to fit in his pants, which is kind of great. So, so one of the nice things about coming up with a health score is it helps you realize where you are. And so, this is the goal, is to be optimal health, 100% function, continuous development, active participation in the wellness lifestyle. That's the 100%. Good health is regular exercise, good nutrition, wellness, education, minimal nerve interference. A lot of people stay in this false wellness or comfort zone. You're maintaining health, you have no symptoms, your nutritional is inconsistent, your exercise sporadic, and your health not a high priority. It's called false wellness. This is poor health. Poor health is symptoms, drug therapy, surgery, and losing normal function. Disease is starting to develop, you're getting sick. And then disease is multiple medications, poor quality of life, potential becomes limited, and body has limited function. So, when would you think when would be the best time to move toward wellness? And in which direction would you like to move toward? And where would you rate your health on this chart? So the nice thing about a health score is it actually helps you figure out where you are. Do you need to wake up and make some better decisions? But the important thing is the best time to start moving toward wellness is immediately. So, because you never just stay in the comfort zone, or you're either going to start to progress toward illness or you're going to start progressing toward wellness, like kind of the snowball effect. Sometimes it takes a while, but eventually, people might not get any symptoms, and all of a sudden they'll start having a lot of symptoms, and some people have a tough time starting to get well, but eventually they do really well. So you're going to go one way or the other. So the nice thing, and one of the things that we knew about being in practice, is that most people that we see start out in this wellness or in this illness category, and where you have obvious symptoms, you have a lot of nervous system dysfunction, joint instability, inflammation, decreased range of motion. So you got to do a lot more care, costs a lot more money, a lot more time when you're down here in illness. And then in prevention, then a lot of times you'll see people who are already healthy, they're just coming in, but they don't have to, you're not spending so much money and time to be healthy, and so your ultimate goal is to get into this wellness area, 100% function. So and physical, chemical, emotional are the three areas that we need to work on and remove the interference. That's and then you remove this interference, physically, chemically, emotionally, then you'll move and connect to God, and then you can make a difference. So, are you ready for the stresses in your life? How is your temple? So, as we said earlier, your body is a temple for God. So, is your temple made up of exercises and nutritional programs, and that are scientifically proven, and it's been proven to be this way without drugs and surgery because of years of clinical experience? Or is it a hodgepodge of things you've heard or been told, or you're trying? So, because eventually you are going to have stresses in your life. So, are you always going to be mopping up, the problems in your life? Are you going to actually repair the problem with your body, or or can you get to the point where you actually can prevent the storms from coming before you even have to repair this or that? So, preventable illness makes up 70% of the burden of illness, and and the associated expenses. So you see so much expenses and trouble nowadays and illnesses, but the nice thing to know is preventable illness makes up 70% of the burden of illness. That means only 25 to 30% of the problem is genetics. The rest is preventable. So we just want to remind you, before you do anything, like any kind of program, you should always make sure that you're ready to do it. So this physical wellness assessment data sheet is downloadable from our form, but you can take it to your doctor. We do physicals at our office to help this process, but just go to your doctor if you're not close to us, and make sure that you're ready for this program. But the nice thing about this program is, even if you're not, even if you're really bad, you could start off doing a lot of this program, but you probably should be under doctor supervision. So here's the Connecting to Wellness score sheet. So this is the master score sheet, and you download this in the score sheet category. So it's kind of nice because you can see each wellness attribute: nutritional, cardiovascular, flexibility, strength, posture, nervous system, and feet and arches. And so what you're going to do is you're going to do each of these tests, and then you're going to fill out the scores. So we're going to go through each individual test, and the grays are usually ones that you can do with, you can do on your own. So you can always get some scores in each category without having to, go to a place where it has a computer program, or a, more computerized or scientific exam. So there's no excuses. You should be able to do the score. But the more tests you do, the more valid your score will be. So the first section, the first wellness attribute is nutritional. So it consists of BMI, BM, and then there's some couple of nutritional outcome assessments: balancing biochemistry, and the Nutritech, and the pH, and the Zyto are two other tests. So the why before the what. A lot of times people have a tough time getting motivated to do nutritional changes, but diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death among people with diabetes. 60% die of heart disease or stroke. There's a huge cost related to diabetes and sickness, and so as you start to get healthier, you're actually saving, you're helping your community in America or whatever country you're in by lowering cost. There's a huge amount of money spent on diabetic drugs, and but there's tons and tons of high corn fructose syrup and other bad sugary products. Obesity trends, obesity is going up and up and up in children and in adults. So, as we're talking about snowballing, things aren't getting better; they're getting worse. Even though we have more apps and more ways to get healthy and more ways to exercise, but we're still trending toward obesity. So the diagnostic criteria for metabolic syndrome is abdominal obesity. So although percent fat is a useful measure of all obesity, health risk of metabolic syndrome are best represented by simply measuring the waist circumference. So that is one of the tests that we've added on to our health score. So metabolic syndrome. Most of us know someone who probably has this, or you might be watching this and you have this. But one of the things we want to do here is help people. Start a group. Once we get better, we want to start a group. So you need to be looking for this, but you need to have a waist circumference, and then you need to have triglycerides, high HDLs, blood pressure, and blood glucose. So, two of these symptoms, you have double the risk of death from coronary heart disease, and if you have 4 of these, you have 3.5 times from the risk of death from coronary heart disease. So, one of the things, inflammation. Unfortunately, those of us living in the Western society consume a diet with an omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio about 10 to 1 to 25 to 1, which you should be 1 to 1, and so that indicates omega-3s are the precursor to everything that's anti-inflammatory. So your ratio must be less than 4 to 1 to avoid the promotion of heart disease and cancer and other inflammatory diseases. So this is a big problem. So this is another reason why we need to work on our nutritional score. So here's the test. The first nutritional test is BMI. This is a test that you can do at home. You just figure out your height and your weight, and then you plug it in to a calculator. We have one on our connectingtowellness.com, and if you're old school and you have a calculator and you know the square roots, then you can plug all this in and you can figure out your BMI. But it's easier personally just to go to connectingtowellness.com and add it in. But it's going to give you your score from your height to weight ratio of your body mass index. And so what you'll do is you write down your score, see if it's in the wellness preventative category, or 2 is average and 1 sickness. So you'll take that score and then you'll write it down here, and then you're going to save this for later. And then we use this part here when people are doing our Get Fit program or coaching, or you can use this too if you want it. It's just a nice way to circle how bad you are, the more you want to reevaluate yourself. So the next nutritional test is BM, bowel movements. This is a super important way it's a nice, easy way, and super important for you to see how your nutrition is doing. But your stool should be brown or golden brown, be formed, have texture similar to peanut butter, and have a size and shape similar to sausage. So if that's what you're getting and you're having them normal, then you're going to be in the normal every day. You're going to be preventative. But if you're only having like one once a week, or one every 4 days, or one every 3 days, or if you're having watery stools or different colored stools, then you're going to be in sickness and crisis. So the next nutritional test is balancing biochemistry. It's a symptom survey that is based off your symptoms, and so they're just classic symptoms for the different systems of your body. And so someone's taken them and made a score sheet. So it's kind of nice. So you'll fill this out, but the important thing with this is because it's symptom based, you only want to go past the last 3 months. You only want to use the last 3 months, not your whole life, because it's what's going on now. And if it's something like you're aware of all the time, it's a 3 and then 2 and 1. Like if you don't ever get it, 0. So, but it's nice because you'll have to turn this one in by either fax or mail it in or drop it off. But then you'll get a score sheet. So if you turn it in, we'll give it back to you. But it'll just tell you, like, for example, thyroid, is bad, or adrenals, or digestive, blood sugar, hormones. It's just all these different categories that you can see if your nutrition and if your body's balanced out. So you just add your score there, and 0 to 5. You really shouldn't have anything, but 0 to 5 is preventative, then 2, 6 to 12, and sickness is 13 above. So you just fill that out and save that for the master score sheet. The next is the Nutritech symptom survey form, which is another symptom survey, but this one you can actually do at home. You don't need to turn it in. So you just fill it out, and then this has all the different categories. So sympathetic dominant, parasympathetic dominant, sugar handling, cardiovascular, gallbladder, digestion, hyperthyroid, hypothyroid, hyperpituitary, hypopituitary, hypoadrenal, hyper and hypo. So And then you're just gonna, and then hormones. So, but this is a nice one because it'll give you a score. But this one you can do at home, and so then you just fill that out. The next nutritional test is pH balance. So pH is a good way to see if you're acidic or alkaline. It's a good way to see if you're eating right, if you're eating like inflammatory foods, or or you're eating healthy foods. So it actually helps you clean up your diet and eat well and eat clean. But it's an easy way to just check to see where you are acidic to alkaline. So you're going to pee in a cup, and then you're going to dip the strip in there and then read it has a little gauge, and then you just write down your results, and then you just have to look at what is normal, average, and sickness. So but it's just an easy way to determine if you're eating well and if you're acidic. The Zyto is a nutritional test that reads your galvanic skin currents, and so what people have found is that certain points of your hand are associated with different organ systems of your body. So it'll stimulate certain points and read how fast it gets back to see how much interference and trouble is going on with that system. And so you can actually find out different categories, and you'll see things that are in range or out of range, and then it suggests certain supplements and certain services that you could do to help improve that. So, but you're going to have to go to someone that has a test like this. So you'll have to figure out where there are some Zyto practitioners, but we have one in our office. But it's nice because it's actually reading your galvanic skin currents, and it's always telling you what's going on right then and there. So you'll have to have a professional read it, but it'll just help you figure out your nutritional wellness. Then you just write your results here, and you'll save that for the master score sheet. And then what we talked about earlier was hip waist ratio. That's an easy way to figure out your visceral adipose tissue. So your visceral adipose tissue is stored fat, and your visceral adipose tissue actually is an endocrine system that produces estrogen and all kinds of inflammatory and other kind of hormones that you don't want, inflammatory markers. And so it's easy to measure. And the best thing about this is you want to make sure your legs are always in the same position when you did it before, and usually you put them together. So you're going to measure around your belly button, and then the hip around your hips, and then you're going to divide the two, and that'll give you your waist hip ratio, and then you're just going to plug it in. For male and female, it's different, so you need to make sure you're looking at the right category. Then you're just going to see if you're low risk, high risk, moderate risk. But this is a nice, easy one that's in your packet. So the next wellness attribute is cardiovascular. So we're going to do blood pressure, the target heart rate is going to be the submax step test, and then you're going to have the 1 mile test. So these are nice, easy ways to figure out your cardiovascular health. There's other tests that you could add, but these 3 ones are easy to do and are safe. So the cardio, blood pressure, you're just going to figure out your systolic and diastolic blood pressure. You're going to put it down there and then see which category you're in, and then score yourself right there. The next test is the target heart rate submax test with a step. So you're going to figure out your maximum heart rate, which is 220 minus your age. You put that there, and then you're going to step up on a 6 to 8 inch step for 20 counts. You're going to go up and down, up and down, up and down for 20 sets for a minute, and then you're trying to keep a normal pace. Then after 2 minutes, you don't need to monitor your heart rate. So this one you do need a heart rate monitor. And then at the end of it, you'll write down what your heart rate was, and then you just add 75 to it. So, but it's a nice way to monitor your heart rate without having to elevate it to figure out how healthy you are. So it's a nice, safer way to do it. So then you just take 75 plus what you got after you did your step test, and then you write it down, and then you write if you're in excellent shape, average shape, poor shape. So the next test is the cardio wellness attribute is target heart rate mile test. So this is a nice one. You don't need a heart rate monitor or any kind of device, you just need to be able to walk a mile. So you got to figure out, you're either gonna go someplace where what's a mile, or you need to measure it out, or a lot of times now there's GPS in your phone and in your watches, so you can just walk a mile. But the key with this is you're not going to run or jog. You walk as fast as you can for 1 mile, and then you're going to see where your score is. So if you're under 40, it'll go in the right category for men or women, and then if you're over 40, men and women. But it's this nice way for medications when you're worried about testing yourself, because we're kind of concerned about that. We want to do it in a nice, simple way to test ourselves, and then you can just put excellent, good, average, below average support. So flexibility is another wellness attribute. Flexibility, we're going to do it by range of motion. So with range of motion, either you can eyeball it and look at it and kind of see, sometimes it's real obvious, that your range of motion isn't that great, and then as your range of motion is getting better, it might not be as easy to do it as eyeball. So a lot of doctors will have diagnostic equipment, and we have a course at the Back to Life Chiropractic office. But you just can find someone that has actual electronic, computerized range of motion. So one of the things you want to figure out is your spine range of motion, because so you can do it with the neck range of motion would be flexion, putting your chin in your chest, extensions looking up at the ceiling, left rotations turning to the left as far as you can, right rotations turning your head to the right as far as you can, left lateral flexion is putting your ear to your shoulder, and the right lateral flexion is putting your ear to shoulder. Make sure your nose is straight. The mid-back range of motion, or the thoracic spine, is a little bit harder to do, but the flexion, it's knees, you're trying to roll forward and see how much you bend from the thoracic spine, left rotation and right rotation. And if you can't do that eyeball, then sometimes you can just measure. The option 2 is just to measure how far from the floor you are. So if you're 5 inches or more, you're crisis. 5 inches or less, 2, and then if you can touch the floor, you're a 3. The low back range of motion, flexion is bending. You're gonna need to keep your knees locked, but touch the ground, go as far as you can. Extensions leaning back. Left lateral flexions, like sliding your arm down, your hand down your leg, lateral leg, outside your leg. So then you can get that. And then certain places you go to, we'll just have a score, like where we do your range of motion. It just gives you a wellness score with each one of these. So, but just write down if you have full range of motion, less, or you're less than 20% or around 20%, and then to give yourself a score. So that's an easy way to do range of motion. You can if you can actually do your range of motion if you want to of all your joints. I mean, that's the nice thing about range of motion, is you can test all your joints, so you could add those if you wanted to. But with this, we're doing the spine, because the spine is so important with the nervous system and posture. And so strength wellness attribute is the next test we're going to do. So it's going to be minimum resistance, upper, lower, front, and back, weak, and then surface EMG. So one of the things that we found out was strength was actually the hardest of all the attributes to figure out and get a true wellness score, because so many people, even if they aren't really strong or they're weak, they can do it that one time. So this is why we did weekly. But one of the things that we found out is strength is probably one of the hardest things for people to get people to do, but probably one of the more important things. So we're going to talk about the why here. So why exercise? So why we're talking a little bit more about this is because so many people don't want to do strength training as they get older, but it's probably one of the more important things. But one of the nice things is brain cells numbers have been shown to increase with exercise. In rat studies, displayed better brain function. It reduces dementia and Alzheimer's. And then more and more research are coming out showing that when you exercise, it helps with depression. It outperforms Zoloft and antidepressants by more than 50%. So, I mean, this is a major thing, because you see so many people with depression now, and a lot of younger kids with depression. And so one of the things that you can really prevent it by 50% is by exercise. Strength training was one of the main things. So people with high activity levels were half likely to get Alzheimer's than inactive people. and so less likely to suffer dementia and mental impairment. People who exercise slept better, about an hour, fell asleep faster, so we know that sleep is very important. Nursing home residents were encouraged to lift weights 3 times a week for 2 months, and the participants' average walking speed nearly tripled, and their balance improved by half, and many no longer need their canes, and their self-confidence soared. And so this is a major thing, because I mean, these are people in nursing homes, and and it's just hard to get people to want to lift weights, but lifting weights really changes your cortisol levels. It helps your nervous system. It just helps take stress off the joints and the spine, and it's an incredible thing to do. So we need to be doing it. So major studies found that regular exercise reduced the death rate among women who have already had breast cancer. So they found that breast cancer patients who walk or do other forms of exercise for 3 to 5 hours a week are about 50% less likely to die from the disease than sedentary women. So helps prevent breast cancer. So a landmark study set out to determine if exercise could prevent diabetes. So it took around 3,000 people that were pre-diabetic, divided into 3 categories. One group took a drug that helped with diabetes, another took a placebo, and one actually reduced their calories and ate less fat in regular program of moderate exercise. So it compared to the so it's just showing that compared to the placebo group, the incidence of diabetes in the diet and exercise group was a whopping 58% lower. So I mean, 58% is a huge difference. Those taking the drugs also reduced the risk of diabetes, but only about half as much as did those making the lifestyle changes. So exercise is preventing diabetes, cancer, depression, dementia, Alzheimer's. I mean, these are all really good reasons why to exercise. And then one of the things we want to do with connectingtowellness.com is to actually turn around and help other people. So you want to be looking for people that are having these problems to try to get them in your group. So here's the test that we're going to do to figure out a strength test. So remember, we said this is one of the harder tests to actually get a true valid test result, to see where you were, because a lot of people could just pull it off that day or that time. So this one, you have to be doing it 2 to 3 times a week, and then we are wanting to do minimum resistance. So you got to be doing at least 10 pounds. Like bands are usually blue. There's 10 pounds, or you need to do 2-pound weights. And then we're trying to do 8 times with these. So you need to be making the changes in your body system. You need to be actually doing some weights, and it actually helps mental. There's so many things that it just helps with. So all these tests here that we're talking about are on the rehab sheet that's on the website. So you just got to do the rehab sheet, the simple one. And so bench press, bicep curl, tricep curl, reverse fly, quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves. If you're doing all those minimum resistance, then you're doing your neck muscles with the synergy ball, the 22 centimeter synergy ball, 2 or 3 times a week. The strength front, you're doing your abdominals, sit-ups. You need to be doing those 2 to 3 times a week and doing about 20 times. Strength of your back, you're doing the back extensor exercises and extension exercises 2 to 3 times a week. And so you're either doing the Superman exercises or the elastic band back extension exercises. So remember, you can get this rehab sheet off of our website, and then you need to be doing this 2 or 3 times. So then you can just score yourself. Are you doing minimum resistance, upper, lower, front, and back, and are you doing them 2 or 3 times a week? Then there you go. You're preventative wellness. If you're not, only doing less than that, then you're average. And then if you're not doing anything, or you're not getting the right resistance, then you're sickness and crisis. So here's the sheets that we were talking about that you can get off our website. The strength test, we have a computerized strength test for your spine, and so this is important because it's helping determine how strong your spinal muscles are based off of the electrical current. And what happens is these little sensors are put on your back muscles bilaterally on both sides, and then it'll read how much current it is going in there, and if there's a difference from side to side. But it's nice because you're getting to see how strong you are in your muscles that actually help with posture and your nervous system, and so you can get a nice score on that. So when you get the test done, well, we actually, of course, do it at our office, but there's a lot of other places that will do surface EMG tests for your back. So you can actually get a score, and it'll tell you what it is, or you can get the read off, and blacks and reds are the worst. So in the example here, the neck and the upper back are in crisis, and like around T9 on the right's in crisis. But then it'll just tell you where you are on your health score. So then you can just write that down. The next wellness attribute is posture. And so posture is super important because even if you're flexible, you're eating well, you're strong, if you have poor posture, you're still going to put a lot of stress on your ligaments and joints, and you're going to cause disc problems, which all those will cause you to drain your energy, to have nervous system dysfunction, and have sprain strains, cause arthritis. So posture is one of the key things that will get people a lot of times and keep them from doing things even though they're eating really well or they're doing certain things. So, and it's easy to test visually, and then you can actually do an X-ray analysis for posture. So posture test visual. So if you're looking, so with this, you're gonna have to have someone evaluate you, or you can look at yourself in the mirror, which is kind of hard to do, but you're trying to see if your head, with your head, you want your eyes level. On the side view, if you drew a plumb line, or sometimes if you can just if you get against the wall, kind of the way you normally stand, your ears should go through your shoulders, through your hips, through your knees, and through your ankle. So you just gotta see if that's normal, and if it is normal, then you're just gonna click. You're gonna check mark the areas that are normal. But if your head's forward, or your shoulders are forward, or your hips are rolling forward, or your knees are bent, or if your foot flares out too much, you can check all that. And then from the front posture, your eyes should be level, your shoulders should be level, your hips should be level, your knees should be level, and then your ankles should be level and just slightly flared out. So, that's an easy way to check your posture. It's just, you can either have it done professionally, or you can have someone try to look at you, and usually it's pretty obvious once you start to evaluate it. So, and then if all the regions are checked and you're all normal, then you're in the preventive wellness. Then 1 to 2 is here, and 2 or more, you're in sickness crisis. So another way, you can a lot of times people have had X-rays, or if they're having problems, they'll get an X-ray. So one of the things that you can take is those X-rays and see if you have a normal posture. So you can measure the angles, and you can measure the femur heads and see if you have any scoliosis or curvature. So, but this is kind of nice too, like to see. A lot of times, if you're having problems and you're exercising and doing a lot of things, and you're still getting some pain, or you're having problems with range of motion, or you can't do something, a lot of times you'll have something posturally wrong, either congenitally, you'll have something fused, or you'll just have a short right leg. But it's another nice way to figure out your posture score. And like, for example, here, like this person's had a fusion of their lumbars, and so that's going to cause some areas not to improve just because of that. But it's not, it doesn't keep you from getting a score, but it might actually be one of the reasons why you couldn't get completely here, because of this fusion right here. But it's just nice to know that and see how it might be affecting other areas. But nervous system, autonomic nervous system is the next wellness attribute. So nervous system test or Nutritex survey form, so that one you can do at home. And then the thermal and the pulse wave profile are things that are more high tech. And so we're going to go through the nervous system. So we're going to explain why the nervous system is so important, because a lot of people don't understand why nervous system is on one of the wellness attributes to health. But your body is physical, chemical, emotional. Any interference to this, and this is why we have the connecting wellness. Any interference chemically, emotionally, structurally, is keeping you from connecting to God. It's keeping you from being optimal health. And so Any interference of this causes you problems. Any interference to your six systems, and your six systems are made out of your nervous system. So part of your nervous system speeds you up, part of your nervous system slows you down. So you want to make sure that's working properly. All your spinal nerves go to all the organs of and tissues of your body, and it causes symptoms. And so one attitude is that taking, if you have stomach problems, then you're gonna take medicine for that. Where another problem would be, let's remove the interference to the triad of health. Let's mentally, chemically, emotionally, structurally remove interference, and then let's remove interference to the nervous system and let this body heal up properly. So, but autonomic nervous system is made out of parasympathetic and sympathetic. One is speeding you up, and one is slowing you down. So it's so important that this is always working properly, and so you want to remove interference in these areas without drugs and surgery. Because for example, if you're trying to slow the whole body down, or you're trying to slow the body down here, and you're taking a prescription that slows that, it slows everything down. That's why you'll get lots of side effects, in other parts of your body. So you want to try to do this naturally. Each spinal area, if this is interfered with, will cause tissue damage and symptoms. So it's important to look at that. So one of the things that with the nervous system is that we're just going to show you why it's so important. But the Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. So this life force, when two cells come together, and then all of a sudden there's electrical output, life force going on. The main thing that starts first is your nervous system and your autonomic nervous system. So your brain and your spinal cord are help producing these other systems. So it's you'll see it's a lot bigger. So what's exciting is that all the nerve impulses start from the brain and work their way down. So all life impulse travels down the spinal cord. Then your nerves and your spinal cord are kind of like wires, but they're very delicate, don't like to be touched at all. But everything's flowing down and then it's communicating back. And so you don't want this interference to be stopped, because you want this to be functioning properly. So if you get interference to the nervous system, it's not going to allow yourself to have as much nerve impulse and optimal health. So Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. So God wants you to be healthy, and so he wants you to be shining and be a light, and that's obvious when you read the Bible. So life impulse travels into every cell of the body. So we want to make sure that your autonomic nervous system is functioning properly, so all the cells are working properly. So these are the tests to see how your autonomic nervous system is doing. So the one test that you can do at home is from the NutriTech symptom survey form. But the first two categories are sympathetic dominant and parasympathetic dominant. So those are the two systems that make up your autonomic nervous system. So you can score yourself, and if you don't have anything on there, 0 to 5, then you're well. And then if you have 6 to 12, you're average. And if you're 13 over, you're sickness and crisis. So these are just classic symptoms if you're sympathetic dominant or parasympathetic dominant. So it's kind of like the flight, fight, and activism. Like one speeding you up, one slowing you down, but you want to be in balance there. So the next nervous system test of your autonomic nervous system is the thermal scan. And so a thermal scan reads your skin temperature difference. And so skin temperature is affected by your autonomic nervous system. So you can actually get a good view and good reading and see how your autonomic nervous system is functioning. And so what they'll do is you have to go someplace that has a scanner. Of course, we have it at our office, but a lot of people have these scanners, but you just have it scan your back, and then it'll tell you the temperature difference, and if you have too much or more on one side or the other. And then you can, where it scans you, that that will determine which nerve roots and which areas of your spine and your organ systems are out. And so, like for example here, they're having a lot of problems at C1, C2. So that would be your parasympathetic nervous system that would be slowing you down. So they probably have a lot of emotional maybe sinuses, you know, so you can just read all. This graph helps you read that. So, but reds and blacks here are crisis, blue and greens are average, white's wellness. But when you get this test done, they'll actually give you a score, and then you plug it in. But it's a more high-tech, computerized way to figure out how your autonomic nervous system is functioning. The next is the nervous system test, pulse wave. The pulse wave is another high-tech way to see how your autonomic nervous system is. So it'll read your autonomic activity index and balance of your score. So, but it reads your inner pulses. So if you have like 67 beats per minute, you know, it's the inner pulses should be off just a little bit, and the off they are, that means your body's more able to adapt to stresses, and so it'll actually give you a score on that. And so it's nice. You can see if you're challenged or average or in wellness. There's another way to read your autonomic nervous system. So feet and arches is the last wellness attribute that's on the score sheet. We will test this visually and by the foot leveler scanner or some kind of scanner. So the arch test scan, you know, you're going to go someplace where they can scan your foot. We prefer the foot leveler's 3D because it actually is a laser. It's probably the most up-to-date accurate one. And so what it'll do, it's going to scan you for these three arches. You should have an anterior arch and a medial and a lateral arch. And so when these are in the proper alignment, then it keeps your foot in alignment, and your knees and your hips and your sacrum and your spine. And so we'll talk about that in a second. But the way you score this sheet is you go get a scan, and then it'll tell you if it's normal or abnormal, and you just put both feet normal, one foot normal, or both feet abnormal. And so and then if your feet are abnormal but you're wearing custom-made orthotics that are made to correct this, then you can say your feet are normal, but you have to be wearing them all the time. If you're not wearing your orthotics all the time, or if they're not custom-made, sometimes the uncustom-made ones do not correct it completely, so you still might be dropping, or you might be actually over, might be pushing out too much and over-rotating out. So then, unless they're custom-made, I wouldn't put them as normal. So the other way to test it is visually. So if you get these 5 red flags, then you'll know that your feet arches aren't working properly. And so, you can look at your gait, see if one of your foot flares out, or you can look at your Achilles heel, the back ligament of your foot, and see if it bows in or out. And then you can see if your knees are rotating in, or you can actually put your fingers underneath there to see if you have an arch, and then you can look at your shoes, see if they're wearing. But usually if you do all these 5 things, then you'll know that your arches are bad. So then again, if both feet are normal, put there, one foot's normal there, or both feet are abnormal there, and then of course you need to be wearing the custom-made orthotics all the time if you want to click that, if they're not like that. So, but the important thing about this and why this became its own category is, if you lose the arches in your feet, then your foot rotates in, your knees will rotate in, and anteriorly, your hip rotates anteriorly, then your hips drop, your sacrum drops, then you'll have a little bit of scoliosis, and then that'll affect your nervous system, your ligaments, and cause all kinds of abnormal stresses. But sometimes people have good posture, but then they'll have bad feet, and so but having that could actually affect that over time. Or sometimes people have bad posture and it affects their feet, so it actually needs to be separate from posture, and that's why we made its own individual wellness attribute. But it was one of the main things that we saw in people. Like a lot of people just don't have bad arches, and they're pretty healthy, they don't have a lot of back problems or spinal problems, but it seems like they kind of foot problems and spinal problems seem to go hand in hand because of the postural imbalance. So we made its own wellness attribute. So now what we're going to do is come up with our health score. We completed as many tests as we can do. It's not important that you don't have to get every single test done. Remember, the grays are the tests that you can do at home. The ones in white are the higher, more computerized ones that you might have to go to a professional doctor to get done. But the thing to do now is we'll take all the individual score sheets, and then we've written the scores down here. Then we just have to add them in. So for BMI, if you got 2 out of 3, then you just write 2 out of 3. And then if your BM was a 1 out of 3, then put 1 out of 3. And then let's say you didn't get to do the balancing biochemistry, then you would just leave that blank. And then if you did your pH, then that might be 2 out of 3. And if you didn't get to do the Zyto, then you just leave that blank. And you just keep going down. Blood pressure, it would be 3 out of 3. But it's kind of nice now, because now, one, when you're looking at this, you're seeing which categories you might actually be bad in. Because a lot of times people will think they might be really healthy in a couple areas, but then there's 3 or 4 areas that really bring their score down, so they're really not as healthy as they are. So it's just nice because we use it when we're doing coaching and we're doing our Get Fit programs. We can see what we need to work on, talk about, educate more about, or why some other areas might be keeping you from getting well. So it's just nice visual to see where you're well, where you're not well. But then the nice thing is sometimes certain areas really affect other areas, and so you're going to see where you are on here. And then a lot of times people think they're more well than what they are. We talked about that, the false comfort. So a lot of people are here, so it might make them realize that they really need to push and do a better job, because they're going to slide down this way, or so. But once you get all this, you're going to add it all up and divide it by the wellness, and then you're going to get your score here. So then you're just going to plop, just rate yourself, draw a line through here and see where you are and write down the date. So it's just nice, because sometimes it just makes some people just wake up. They think they're a lot healthier than what they are, and then some people they're in this false zone here where they're not having problems, but then they're realizing they're probably sliding this way. And then then you can see if you're you're doing really well, you're in here. So but it's just nice because now you have a score, you can compare yourself, go back, always be looking, comparing. But a lot of times it just starts to wake some people up and starts to realize, like, I'm really not as healthy as what I thought I was. And I would say the average person, when they start this, even if they think they might be pretty healthy, are starting in these like 60 to 70% range right here. So, but without a health score, if you just have like 1 or 2 tests that you've gotten from your MD or this, or from your from your app or something, you really don't really know where you are on this. You might get a false score. So, but without a score, you just don't really know where you are. So one of the nice things about the health score, you're going to see where you are, but then the next workshop we're going to have is the checklist, which is going to start helping you improve your health, and you will slowly start to snowball back up toward wellness, and you can always be improving your test scores, improving that. So even if you're way down here, you can still start sliding up here. So the question is, everyone has a health attitude. Do you want to go through life, in sickness and illness, taking a lot of multiple medications, poor quality of life, potential becomes limited, body's limited function? I mean, do you want to go through life like this, or do you want to go through life, with a really nice, well put together car, and one is going to make a bigger influence on the world, like you're going to make a bigger difference, people are going to notice, or as you go from here and work your way to here, people are going to notice that. So it just makes a really good time to witness. We do have our little carabiner in our carabiner story. As you're connected to God, your light will shine. So as you can make sure that you're connected to God, and then you can press the button to see, like, so let's say you are going to make a decision, like, I'm going to either eat this or I'm going to eat this. Then you're like, is this making me connect to God? And am I shining light of wellness, of optimal function? Is it going to make, is me eating this or exercising or not exercising, what am I going to do? So these little carabiners are nice. We have them available. But, but they're just nice. You just hook them onto your backpacks, or your, you put them on your belt or your gym bag or your book bag. But it's just a little constant reminder. And the story of the carabiners on connectingtowellness.com. So the next workshop that you want to do, after you've done your score sheet, is the Connecting to Wellness cheat sheet and checklist. So, but what we've done is we have a checklist of all the things that you need to do to improve all the different scores on your wellness attributes, and it just goes through all the different ones, and it's just a nice way to start getting healthy, and it's a good way, for your group to check each other, or you're getting coached. We use that to see if you're doing the right things, but it's kind of the cheat sheet to health. Like, these are the fundamental things that you're going to do, and that's what's on this workshop. And there's 3 other sheets, and there's one for kids too. So, and then for those who are just having a really tough time, sometimes it's good just to turn over your keys, and we do have the Connecting Wellness Get Fit program if you're local. There are some other type of programs that sometimes we can help you hook up with if you're from a different part of the United States, or different parts of the world. But it's just, everything's done for you for a while. But then the cool thing about the whole Connecting to Wellness program is that eventually, you're gonna form a habit, and then you don't always, you're not going to be doing your scores all the time. You're not going to be doing your checklist all the time. You just need to use it every so often to make sure you're staying on track. So the nice thing about this, like, you don't have to keep doing this over and over again. You don't have to have a trainer. But the main thing is, once you are doing better, then help someone else. So, but we actually have Connecting to Wellness coaching. So Connecting to Wellness coaching is more for someone who wants to start a group, and then they're having some problems, and so, like, we could actually help coach you guys, kind of get you going. But eventually, you don't need to be coached anymore. You just need, you're going to form a habit, you're going to have it down, and it's a nice, simple system that works and keeps you healthy. So, but we do have the Connecting Wellness coaching that's on our Connecting to Wellness website. So we actually have 2 community programs that you could do, using the score sheets and the checklist. The Get Healthy game is just a way to do a small group, and then you just kind of come up with how long you want to play for, what prizes you're going to do, how you're going to score it. And then you just, you can use the workshops and the score sheets and the YouTube channels and the workbooks all to start improving your scores. And then it's kind of fun, competitive way, and then it's an easy way to see who's winning, losing, and then you're going to have prizes based on that. And we do have an online store that you can buy prizes and hand out that would actually help with your score. We have a church program. So the church program, I misspelled that, but the church program is nice because what we want to do is start changing the community around us. We want to make a difference. So we have the team mission. So we actually try to get groups of people to actually go on a mission trip, and then so we're trying to raise money all the time. So this is an easy way for you to give money to that, or you can give it to your own mission trip. But it's just an easy way. As you do the health score and you do the checklist, people are gonna get well, and so you can actually donate like money from how much weight you lost, or you can actually donate money on what scores sheets. It's all in there for you, and we'll help you do it. But it's another nice way you could do that. It doesn't have to be a church, it could be a small group, but that's another community program we have. And so the next workshop you want to watch after you get your score is the checklist. And then it's nice to get these little carabiners and hang them on to your backpacks and your belts to remind you, when you're making the right decisions, and you're connecting to God, and then you're going to make a difference in the community around you. So remember, all these workshops are on the Connecting Wellness YouTube channel, and this next workshop is going to be on there too.